This is Sounds Like a Cult, a show about the modern day cults we all follow.
I'm Isa Medina, and I'm a comedian.
I'm Amanda Montell, author of the book Cultish, The Language of Fanaticism.
Every week here on our show, we discuss a different group that puts the cult in culture, from Disney adults to Instagram therapists, to try and answer the big question.
This group sounds like a cult, but is it really?
To join our cult, follow us on Instagram at Sounds Like a Cult Pod. I'm on Instagram at Isa Medina, ISAAMEDINAA.
And I'm on IG at Amanda_Montell. And feel free to check us out on YouTube, where you can listen with your eyes, or hit us up on Patreon at patreon.com/soundslikeacult.
As you all know, Dipsea is one of my favorite apps to unwind and relax. And right now, you can get an extended 30-day free trial when you go to dipseastories.com/cult.
That's 30 days of full access for free at dipseastories.com/cult. Hellofresh makes easy, delicious meals that will take care of your breakfast, lunch, or dinner.
Go to hellofresh.com/cult16 and use code cult16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts.
That's hellofresh.com/cult16.
HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. La 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 la. I literally didn't know how to start.
Should we do some warm-ups? Some scales?
Mac.
Mommy made me mash my M&Ms.
Mac. I don't know how to sing, so I don't know
We
how to
sang
warm
once
up.
around my bonfire, remember?
Oh, yeah.
I hope my
we did a lot
landlord-
of weird things during the pandemic.
We really explored.
I rapped in Spanish.
Right. We got really high and you rapped.
But yeah, we're going to be talking about the Cult of Acapella.
The Cult of Acapella today. I suggested this episode maybe like a year ago, and you were like, I don't know about that one.
I was like, that's the niche topic we can get into later, and this is the perfect time. I had personal experiences in acapella, as in I auditioned for a group in college.
Yes.
It wasn't until Classic I tried the cult myself a little bit. I tried out, I didn't get in, then I was like, this shit is not for me. I auditioned maybe 6 years ago.
But I too have a connection to that world, because my boyfriend Casey, our lovely composer of the Sounds Like a Cult theme music, was hardcore in the Cult of Acapella. He was the arranger for the Princeton footnotes.
A 1, 2, 3, 4. Down, down, looking around class, but I can give it to you all the time. Oh.
At an Ivy League, nonetheless.
An Ivy League.
They have acapella at a lot of colleges and universities, but I feel like at Ivy Leagues, they're like even more pretentious just by nature, because it's Ivy Leagues are pretentious.
Oh, of course. The outfits, they would wear these like Tommy Hilfiger matching, very waspy suits.
Yes, that was
perform.
the biggest culture shock to me when I went to UVA, because it's like a Southern institution and everyone dresses so preppy. This might make me sound ignorant, but I actually never even heard of acapella until I went to UVA.
It is an Italian word, aca-capella.
You want to talk about Italy?
Yeah, my main personality trait right now is I just got back from Europe this morning.
Cappella. I don't know. I feel like acapella is just, it's something that really, really is done well on college campuses.
It's true.
I think the movie Pitch Perfect put acapella on the mainstream pop culture map, but college campuses are where it's traditionally always thrived. When you're a freshman, you think that like the kids in acapella are the hottest kids in school.
Well, I know that you definitely thought that.
I did think that.
I was not under the impression that acapella was cool.
You were?
No. I was a recovering theater kid. That was too soon for me. I got to college and I was like, get me the fuck away from these acapella losers.
Also, because you went to NYU, which is like a city school, right? So it's like it doesn't have like the classic
The same
college
culture.
vibes.
You're right.
Whereas like at UVA, they have acapella groups perform at your orientation. You're entranced by these groups and they like sway together.
Yes.
They like snap together. And then you're like, I think I'm in love. But then you take the rose-colored glasses off and you realize they're just basically nerdy frat boys who can harmonize.
Definitely. But let's get into it, because you might think acapella, that seems fairly innocuous. How can that possibly be a cult? But when you go to analyze the different qualities, it becomes clear that there are definitely some cultish elements to acapella.
Yeah, definitely. And also, like, as a reminder, we do have a scaling system.
Yes, of course.
You know? And so we're going to have fun with this one, but it's a big community. I mean, there are over 1,200 college a cappella groups in the country. Harvard has like almost 10. I know UVA has like 10 plus. And every year kids come up with more like Like people who couldn't get into like the traditional ones, they like make their own.
Their own offshoots. Yeah, there are apparently as many as 18,000 total a cappella-ers in the country. And competitive a cappella is its own subculture. Not every team competes, but there are various a cappella championships. Actually, my boyfriend's group, the Princeton Footnotes, they competed on the reality a cappella TV competition show, The Sing-Off.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, I could see that.
It was the show that Pentatonics won.
Oh, yeah.
Because I feel like there are these two sort of denominations of a cappella. There's college a cappella, which is very connected to tradition and everything else. And then there's sort of like YouTube pop culture a cappella groups.
And I feel like those groups do more like pop songs and mainstream songs and like that's like the Pitch Perfects of the world.
Yeah, exactly. You mentioned Pitch Perfect sort of made a cappella cool and mainstream, brought it from campuses to the zeitgeist. And we're going to be talking to a guest later who was in the cult of YouTube a cappella specifically. So we're excited to hear about that.
Yeah, we're really excited to talk to her. I think that we could compare, in a way, college a cappella or a cappella in general kind of to sororities and fraternities.
Definitely.
Because of their recruitment process.
Absolutely. I mean, they are steeped in traditions similar to the way that Greek life is. Let's go through some of the culty qualities of a cappella. First of all, recruitment, as you mentioned.
Yeah, recruitment. I mean, it's like this. When I auditioned, didn't realize it was like a month-long process, even though obviously they like post posters all around campus and they're like, auditions are held from like Monday to Tuesday at 3 p.m. in the dining hall or something college-y like that. These people had actually been like socializing and hanging out. And like, it's kind of like a sorority in that way that like you kind of like get rushed into it because they only accept like 2 new members a year.
It's exclusive.
Yeah. Apparently it's harder to get into once you've already auditioned and didn't make it because they want to accept like freshmen. Like they want to accept people who like
the hot new freshies.
Exactly. And so like, if 100 freshmen with great voices are auditioning, 50 freshmen with bad voices are auditioning, that's still competitive.
Oh, totally.
So they're like, oh, like we'll meet people and we'll get a vibe for them. And it's not just a matter of whether they like your voice.
It's not a meritocracy, of course.
Like everything in life.
Like everything else. I was talking to Casey about some of the recruitment initiation rituals that were involved with the footnotes. And to this day, okay, this is like 10 years post footnote audition. He was like, I refuse. I refuse to tell you. It is a secret. All he said was, I wrote it down. I don't know what this means. If there are any footnote alums who can tell me, all he said was, the Jackie Newman show has the best Kobe beef sliders. And then he said, ask to see the paddle.
The paddle?
This is my partner. This is my romantic partner with whom I share a home and a dog and a cat and troubles and tribulations. And he won't
even tell you to this day?
And he will not to this day tell me about the a cappella recruitment initiation.
Okay, well, I never got in, so I can't tell you either.
God damn it.
But speaking of us and them dichotomy, I did hear that during auditions, some people would choose members based on attractiveness. Like there were some groups on campus known as hot and other groups known as not, I guess. But the hot ones only accepted hot people, which is traumatizing.
Traumatizing. He did also mention that while the rituals were culty, they weren't dangerous, not like fraternity hazing.
That's what I was gonna say, because although I didn't get into the cult of acapella, I did join club sailing.
You did?
Yeah, for a semester at UVA. I love to diversify my interests.
You were dipping a toe into every little cult that would take you.
And I feel like I got hazed for that. And it was like, we go into this basement, they cover our eyes, we drink this like goo from a chalice, but it's essentially just like, I don't know, like Jello shot vibes.
Right.
So I feel like a cappella is probably similar in that they do like this fun thing to make you feel like you're part of something. Because
absolutely,
isn't that all like hazing is to like bond you?
Exactly.
So like bond in a fun,
it's a conversion event. And this is one of the 3 elements of cultish influence that I talk about sometimes: conversion, conditioning, and coercion.
Yeah.
Coercion being the most dangerous, but conversion is just meant to make you feel like your life is now forever changed. Like you cannot go back once this event has happened.
Yeah.
And some conversion events are more insidious than others, but there is one story that we'll talk about in a bit of a much more nefarious a cappella hazing story. Oh, this is incredibly disturbing. Speaking of exit costs, Casey told me that once you joined an a cappella group on campus, you were literally locked in and could not quit because there was this overlord a cappella organization called aca-prez that made sure that if you quit, you were prohibited from auditioning and joining a different group and were basically banished from the community, which could be so problematic if you didn't like your original group for any reason whatsoever.
Yeah, it's giving overlord and not cool.
Not cool. And you were indebted to these guys for life. Like, regardless of how well you actually got along, there was this understanding that if you were in the a cappella group together, you were brothers forever. And those are some of the red flags that you can look for, like how much coercion is there? How much are we being conditioned to act in a way that controverts my former behavior, my former self? Another aspect of a cappella that I think is pretty culty, in an innocent way though, largely, is some of the lingo. Obviously, all a cappella groups have a dorky, punny name. The Harvard Opportunes.
Yeah, at UVA, there was the Hullabahoos.
What?
So like UVA's like mascot is like the Who's. We say like wahoo wah. Literally no one knows where the fuck it came from.
Okay.
Some people say as a joke that it's like a wahoo is a fish that can like drink the most. And I'm like, that's stupid.
Okay.
But hullabahoos, because they like sing.
Oh, what is that?
The
What?
silhouettes.
Oh, that's cute. What is the name of that Yale a cappella group that they talk about in Gilmore Girls, but it's also really real and it's super prestigious and it's discussed with great severity and reverence, but it has the dorkiest name ever?
The Whiffenpoofs?
Yeah, the Whiffenpoofs. It's so silly. It's just so unbelievably silly.
Yeah, where does that name even come from?
I don't know, but it's just funny because I think about like a bunch of men in smoking jackets speaking with great reverence about the best moments of their life were spent in the Whiffenpoofs.
Yeah, wait, let me show you what the jackets that the hullabahoos would wear. They're actually like the ones that the Pitch Perfect guys are based off of.
Yes, the robes. Classic cult red flag, a robe.
Yeah, they wear robes that look like the Trader Joe's uniform.
A convergence of so many cults at once.
Two cults in one. Two cults in one.
Yeah. So let's talk about it then. There's this uniformity aspect in a cappella, right? Like every group has coordinated outfits.
Yeah.
The music that they perform is the same across all state schools. It's really wholesome pop music and songs from musicals. There is an eerily perfect, smiley, polite image to a cappella, which is part of why it's not uncommon for a cappella groups to overlap with different sects of Christianity. We'll talk a little bit about that with our guest later.
Yeah, and I also feel like they have a little bit of in-group, out-group because like we mentioned, it's not just like a place where they sing. It's literally like a community. Like all my friends who are in a cappella, like their best friends were in a cappella. And so if you wanted to stop doing a cappella, you might lose your friends.
Oh, completely.
Apparently also all the a cappella groups on campus, like I've heard this from multiple people at different universities, are like really incestuous.
100%.
Everyone's always hooking up with each other or like they only date other people in a cappella.
Dude, Casey told me stories of a cappella orgies.
Oh no.
Sex cult energy. It's just you spend so much time with these people that anyone could basically convince anyone to do anything, and you're horny college students.
I was just about to say you're a young college student who's like, sex? Yeah, let's go.
Let's go. The footnote solidarity that Casey has will follow him for the rest of his life. I mean, his closest friends to this day are from his a cappella days.
Does he hang out with them in LA?
Oh yeah. Oh
They
yeah.
should perform.
I know. Every time I get together with them, I demand that they like beatbox and sing Taylor Swift medleys for me.
Entrancing. That's a word, right?
It is. It is totally entrancing. I mean, it's a type of music that is created only with the human voice.
Yeah, and I love acoustics. I'm huge on acoustics. I like pow pow pow, ba pop pop. Like this room, great acoustics.
You think so?
But not for a cappella.
Not for a cappella.
You need echoing for a cappella.
That's right. That's right. Speaking of the in-group, out-group, I mean, any community that has its origins on a college campus is going to get problematic at times. I mean, the Princeton Footnotes originally started in the late 50s because the college a cappella groups on campus at the time would not allow Jewish members. So that's something that still exists in a cappella. I mean, there has been all this sort of hullabaloo,
for lack of a better word,
and controversy in the footnotes in a cappella groups across the country, I imagine, because they're trying to decide whether or not to allow women to join the group. And I don't know, whenever a group doesn't allow women in because of tradition is sort of like an automatic red flag to me.
The nature of it being like a tradition means that new students or kids who didn't have like their parents go to that institution might not know about a cappella, i.e. me.
Yeah.
And then you don't do like the right things to try and audition for a cappella. So like if you do want to be part of the group, then you're kind of like on the outskirts because you don't have like an insider's take.
But at the same time, there are also the positive aspects to any cult that exist in a cappella. Like all cults, it gives members a chance to commune with people who have similar interests. A lot of these groups are sort of like safer spaces for queer people.
100%. I feel like a lot of my friends in college that like joined a cappella, it's like you didn't know who you were, and then you join, and then like after being in a community that like accepts you for who you are without you even knowing who you are, then like you feel more comfortable coming out probably.
Yes, there were many coming outings in that
So
footnote room. So actually, I asked Casey what he thought was the cultiest thing about a cappella, and I have to agree with what he said. It is the tags. Do you know what a tag is?
I know what a tag is in comedy. It's like set up tag punchline. So a tag is like something that gets you to the punchline. It's like the middle thing.
Got it. Okay, so in a cappella,
For those of you who don't know, I'm a comedian.
cue laugh track.
Hello.
So in a cappella, a tag is this incredibly like cringy, slightly off-putting behavior / ritual where a group of a cappella members will be in a public space, at a party, at a restaurant, in a frickin' church, wherever they are. They'll, like make eye contact with one another, and one of the members will be like, and the other member will be like,
Stop.
and then they break out in maybe like 8 bars of a song.
That's like the a cappella version of the penis game. Did you ever play that?
Where you say like penis louder and louder, like in 500 Days of Summer?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. But like, that's, but everybody recognizes that.
Yeah. Everyone knows the penis game.
Everyone knows the penis game.
I would have the worst secondhand embarrassment if an a cappella group did that next to me in a diner.
Dude, exactly. So that's the thing, is that they bust out into song, and it's kind of isolating because it really they're not performing for other people. They're doing it for themselves. It's like musical masturbation.
Yeah.
And it separates them from everyone else on the outside.
Which is illegal in public places. So I feel like they should take
public
note.
disturbance. Yeah, I mean, it further establishes that in-group, and it's kind of like when the Hare Krishnas chant through the street. It's like, do that somewhere else.
Yeah. I will say I did look forward to it during finals, though. Like sometimes the a cappella groups would come in the library and like do like a, what do you call it when you like a dance, but
a flash mob.
it was like a flash mob of a
It's
cappella.
totally like a flash mob.
Yeah.
But it only lasts 30 seconds. It's like
and you
bad
only
sex.
want to watch it when you're like one page into like a 12-page essay that like is due in 3 hours.
Exactly.
And you're like, how do I procrastinate? Oh, I'll watch these dorks.
Any excuse to procrastinate.
If you're listening to this episode in early June 2022, we are going to be doing a live online show.
And you can still get tickets. It's on June 15th, 2022 at 9 p.m. ET, 6 p.m. PT. It's to celebrate our 1-year anniversary of the podcast, and it's going to be so much fun. We're going to discuss cults that we would never ordinarily discuss on the show.
I'm going to do stand-up.
I'm going to read a little bit of my book.
And we're also just going to like have a live chat, so you can literally like give us suggestions of what you want to talk about.
We're going to engage with our listeners. There's going to be a Q&A. There is going to be an opportunity to do a one-on-one meet and greet with us, and the opportunity to buy merch if you attend the live show.
Yeah. iPhone cases, t-shirts. It's really cute. I designed it myself.
Yes, they're very cute. You can get tickets and info at momenthouse.com/soundslikeacult. The event is being put on by Moment House.
And all the info is also in link in our bios.
So we've talked about some of the culty but fairly innocuous aspects of a cappella. Let's talk about some worst case scenarios.
There was a pretty controversial hazing scandal at Cornell with one of their a cappella groups, the Cayuga's Waiters, which, let me tell you, that's a weird name.
Yeah, there's no zing to that.
Yeah, like, are they waiting on people or are they waiting around? Come on. We're talking Ivy League.
Yeah.
Anyway, they were founded in 1949. They were the oldest a cappella group at the school. And
All
they were
male.
All male, yeah. And they're low-key like campus celebrities.
Like you were describing.
Yeah, like I was just like, but to everyone. Well, at UVA, I was just like, I was the one who was like, oh my God.
You were the one groupie.
Yeah. But at Cornell, they were like kind of campus celebrities, the Cayuga waiters, and they got kicked off campus permanently for hazing members. They made them sit naked in ice baths. They made them go running, and then they were forced to eat food until they threw up. This sounds very fratty.
Yeah.
Members had been pressured to climb into garbage cans and sit there for undisclosed periods of time in order to land coveted solos. So as in, once they were already in the group, they still got hazed in order to like score a solo.
To nab a solo.
Which is kind of nuts. Just sing in the shower like the rest of us. But older members reportedly pissed on new members. Sorry, I don't know why I said it like that.
Well, I mean, as long as it was consensual, but it sounds like it was not.
Yeah.
Gross.
But Ed Helms' a cappella persona in The Office is based off of this.
Oh, that's incredible. This story is a little bit shocking. I think it's interesting because there are so many frats who've engaged in this behavior and have not been shut down or banned.
I was just thinking the same thing. Like, I actually have like friends who have literally told me this exact kind of hazing for fraternities, but instead of like eating food until they throw up, they had to eat like tobacco until they threw up.
It's disgusting, but in fraternities, it's almost expected and it's written off as tradition. It's just for fun. It's harmless. But I think against the backdrop of a cappella, it felt a little bit more shocking.
Even though a cappella has really deep roots and it's like an old, really traditional thing, I feel like fraternities have deeper pockets. You know what I mean?
True.
Like people who were in fraternities might run the university or might be donating to the university. So the university is less likely to reprimand a fraternity because it has consequences.
Totally, financially speaking.
Whereas people who joined a cappella groups are likely to like pursue like the arts after college, unless it's like literally Tina Fey.
Yeah. Oh, well, actually what's funny is that so many of the members of the Footnotes, this is like my one case study, a lot of them just went on to become like finance bros and stuff because Ivy League vibes, you know?
Yeah.
But it's true. I mean, at the end of the day, a cappella members are misfit types. They're artsy types.
Yeah, but those finance bros, they're not going to be like donating to the a cappella group.
So they do, but not as much. You're right. There isn't that legacy that there is in fraternities. I think, the culty aspect of a cappella is less connected to the institution of the university. But at the same time, because they are these artsy misfits and because, or at least they can be, and because they are like slightly like dorkier or how do I want to say it? Because they're not
perceived as nicer than when you put their cute, adorable persona against the hazing that happened, it looks way darker.
Totally. Because it's not expected, you could wind up doing something that you absolutely didn't consent to because it was under the guise of, oh, we're just this friendly, sweet a cappella group.
Yeah. They are so sweet looking and
they are.
They really make you fall in love with them. Okay, is that just me?
I feel like I need to maybe set you up with a former Footnote.
Are they finance bros now? Like
no.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, totally. Oh, I forgot. That's your type.
No, money.
Yeah.
I actually think it's like when people are like, oh, like you can't just be like attracted to someone for their money. I'm like, yeah,
why
you can.
not? We found this story in GQ about the Cornell a cappella hazing controversy, and we want to read some pull quotes from it because I think they're enlightening. It said that it turns out that the same isolation that made a cappella cool-ish had for a century also made hazing acceptable to many people, kind of like what we were speaking about before.
Yeah.
They said what we were selling was an identity, a vibe, which at a place like Cornell, which has been a punchline on at least 3 episodes of Broad City, in addition to Veep, goes a long, long way. So we were talking about how Cornell is an Ivy League, but it is kind of like known as the shitty Ivy. It's like less prestigious. So when you feel like you're an underdog, you have something to prove.
Well, I thought this quote from the article also addresses that, is that you put a pack of guys together in any selective exclusive group and someone needs to prove he's the alpha.
So true.
And notice how like this controversy happened in an all-male a cappella group too.
Of course.
Like we said, fraternities are a little more culty than sororities. Add that on top of like having to prove yourself because it's like Cornell versus other Ivy Leagues. And The fact that they're all men, and then the fact that they go in not expecting it, and then they're like, oh, wait, then I need to like double down. I feel like when you go in not expecting something and then you get hazed, you're like, okay, I need to prove that I'm a man.
You justify it to yourself because you don't want to believe that you would go along with something so batshit or so destructive. So you sort of convince yourself like, no.
It's not that bad.
I meant for this to happen. Yeah, I'm totally fine with this.
Yeah.
And that's how a lot of abuse happens. It's because you are ashamed to admit to yourself that you allowed this damage to occur.
Yeah, I think a really good example of this is, have you seen the show Sex Lives of College Girls?
Yes, I love it.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It's so good. And you know when the girl joins the like comedy group on campus
Yes.
and like she tries to convince herself that like what's happening to her is normal, and then she realizes like, no, this is not okay.
Yeah, because
then-
she gets sexually harassed on
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
exactly.
A lot of university groups are able to get away with this sort of thing because, as you were mentioning before, you show up to college, you're a young person, you're vulnerable, you don't have a super strong sense of self, you're looking for community in unlikely places. And when there's no checks and balances, when there's no one making sure that the power is restrained to some degree, then these cult-like abuses can occur.
Yeah, I almost feel like college is an even more vulnerable time period in your life to be like susceptible to cults, because when you just turn into a teenager, you're so hard-headed. When you're like 13 to 17, you're like, fuck everyone, I literally know everything.
I know everything.
And I've been owning this town for 17 years. And then you move to college. Also, you literally live with your parents, which makes it harder to join a cult. But you're still young.
Totally.
But you're 10 times more vulnerable, and you're like, but now I want to act like an adult. What do adults act like?
Yeah.
Like 17 to like 21 is really a vulnerable time for people.
Absolutely. I mean, it's no accident that so many different cultish groups, from MLMs to self-help groups to evangelical Christian societies, will target people in college, because you're exactly right. They are all of a sudden, for the first time in their life, a small fish in a big pond. They want to find their identity. They want to find their way. And here's a group being like, I'll show you. This is actually a perfect transition, because there was a bona fide cult that did take advantage of sort of the innocence and optimism and vulnerability that exists in a cappella, and it was NXIVM.
Oh.
So Keith Raniere was...
I forgot about that.
Yeah. So Keith Raniere was the leader of an a cappella group. He was such a weird dude. He was the leader of an a cappella group called Simply Human, of course.
Of course. Ew, he gives, just like saying his name gives me the creeps.
I know, right? He founded this group under a nonprofit called Acapella Innovations. So highfalutin with him. According to the documentarian John Wilson, Keith Raniere would lurk around big a cappella events, proselytizing the transformative power of a cappella, and then lure college students into NXIVM through the appeal and seeming innocence and solidarity of a cappella.
Oh my God. And he was targeting people exactly that age. People who thought there was only good to come from a cappella.
Exactly.
And then he tainted the beautiful art that is a cappella. How could he do that?
I can easily see, because when you have like a young creative person who maybe wasn't like the coolest person in high school.
Keith Raniere looks like he was like the biggest loser.
Dork. 100%.
Sorry, I'm being a bully this episode. He was a loser. He wasn't even a dork. He was a loser.
Giant loser. He was not just a whale penis. He was a whale butthole.
Yeah. That's actually the origin of the word loser. Whale ass.
Who's the etymologist now? But yeah, I mean, when you have someone who's like, I was just like you in high school. I wasn't that cool either. And now look at me. I'm brilliant. I'm the leader of this organization. You can get involved with me. We'll sing a cappella together. It'll be great. Those are the perfect conditions under which to lure young people into a cult.
I just don't understand how people who approach younger people like that and say like, I was just like you, or do things like that, don't see themselves being creepy. Like every year there's like new comedians in the comedy scene, obviously, but it's like, there are plenty of male comedians that do that, and that's fucked up, like taking advantage of someone for their like newness and youngness.
In large part, I think it's insecurity. I think some of these cult leaders have a chip on their shoulder because they felt bullied and oppressed for whatever reason in high school. And because they have so much privilege, they think they're entitled not to feel that way. And they're like, finally, I can be a cool kid. You know you're a loser when you're like, the only way I can achieve power is to start a cult and recruit 18-year-olds.
Yeah.
It's pathetic.
Yeah. pathetic. Anyway, follow us on Patreon. No, I'm just kidding.
Amazing. So we have discussed some of the ins and outs, the highs and lows, the A's and G's. That's some music theory humor for you.
That's probably why I didn't get in, because I'm like, what are you talking about?
of college a cappella. But next we're going to hear a little bit about the cult of YouTube a cappella from our very special guest.
We're going to talk to Dani Calleiro. She was in the cult of YouTube a cappella, but she's now a vlogger herself. She's on TikTok.
She was in a massive, probably one of the biggest YouTube a cappella cults. It was all of her sisters. It was a group called Cimorelli, and she left to do her own thing, and we're going to talk all about her experience.
Dipsy is an app full of hundreds of short, sexy audio stories designed by women for women.
They bring scenarios to life with immersive soundscapes and characters, no matter who you're into or what turns you on.
It's a really cool app for people who don't like
smut.
Yeah, to Google weird things and feel uncomfortable while you're trying to get to a place of serenity.
I love your euphemisms and innuendos.
Yeah, you're paying for quality is ultimately what you're doing, and you're paying for like easy access to something that's going to help you unwind and relax at a moment's notice.
Yeah, it's sensual. It's a beautiful app. Again, it's by women for women, and new content is released every week. So in between listening to your favorite stories that you can rely on again and again, you know what I mean, you can always find something new to explore.
It's your go-to place to spice up your me time, explore your fantasies, or heat things up with a partner.
Dipsy also has sleep stories, wellness sessions, and now they also offer written stories.
Ooh la la. For listeners of the show, Dipsy is offering an extended 30-day free trial when you go to dipsystories.com/cult.
That's 30 days of full access for free when you go to DIPSEA stories.com/cult.
And to support the show, make sure you use our code with dipsystories.com/cult. Hellofresh delivers fresh, quality produce from farm to your door in less than a week, so you can savor summer flavors right from home.
Hellofresh now has 30 dinner recipes to choose from every single week. That's the most choices of any meal kit. And I'm personally obsessed with their like Mediterranean bowls. They're so flavorful, and I've never had an easier time making dinner, which is saying a lot because I kind of suck at cooking.
Yeah. This makes cooking fun and easy, and also cooking is really nice because you get to know all of the ingredients that are going in your meal. You can buy those like pre-made meal kits, but you never know what's actually in it.
So true. And I actually feel like using HelloFresh has made me a better cook. HelloFresh's newest menu releases include Mediterranean recipes that are filled with fresh fruits and veggies, nuts, olive oils, and fiber-packed whole grains for nourishing balance.
HelloFresh is 72% cheaper than dining out at a restaurant. What a snazzy deal. So customize your favorite dishes with the new HelloFresh offerings by swapping out a protein or side, upgrade for a more luxe experience, or even add protein to a veggie meal.
Go to HelloFresh.com/cult and use code CULT16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts.
That's HelloFresh.com/cult16 and use our personal code CULT16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts.
HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit.
For the listeners who don't know who you are, can you tell us your name, what you do, and how you're connected to a cappella?
You know, my name is Dani. My name is Dani Calleiro, a.k.a. previously known as Dani Cimorelli. That is my old last name because I got married. I was in a band called Cimorelli, and we started off doing only a cappella covers for many years. We did some here and there, like recorded things, but a cappella was like our thing.
It became very successful.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, what were your numbers and stuff?
We had like 5 million subscribers, and in like 2012, we got like millions of views. Like anybody who was on YouTube watching music-related content in 2012, which was a lot of people.
That's probably when I found you.
Yeah, like watched our videos because I was 12. Like it was like middle schoolers, some high schoolers, mostly like kids though. And like we did a collab with Maddie B, and that got like 100 million views. So it was very much like early 2010s.
How was
like,
that
our thing.
As a 12-year-old, like having that kind of power?
You know, it was actually like one of those things where you just don't realize it because I was so young and I started when I was 10. So it's like you don't think about anything that happens when you're a kid because it's just happening.
Yeah. And it was an a cappella group with your siblings?
Mm-hmm.
Your sisters.
With my 5 sisters.
Okay.
And you also have brothers, though.
I have 5 brothers.
But they could not be in the group.
Wait, how many siblings total do you
I
have?
have 10.
Oh my God.
Catholic family, right?
Yeah.
So that's a
Oh,
thing.
I grew up Catholic too.
Yeah,
That's
the family
okay.
is not a cult, unlike Cimorelli. But
Okay. All right.
Shots fired. Amanda's like, we're going to start light. You're like, what are we going to talk about? She's like, you're in a cult.
no, I totally subscribed to it. I like literally subscribed
Yeah.
with the button.
And everybody needs to know, and everybody knows who listens to this podcast. When we say cult, it's not.
Oh,
it's not
everyone
real
knows.
cult.
No.
Everyone knows that.
Everyone knows.
And I just need to say it.
The whole point is
Exactly.
that cults are a spectrum. This word is so up to interpretation. Okay, so I know about college acapella a little bit because my
Okay.
boyfriend. College acapella groups think of themselves as a family, but your acapella group was literally your family.
Yes.
Can you tell us about how your family first got into acapella and how did the band start?
Yeah. Honestly, I was like 7 years old. So I don't remember all of it because they started it without me.
Ugh,
But yeah.
it's giving, what's the Jonas Brothers' little brother?
Frankie.
It's giving Frankie.
yeah, that was like a joke for a little bit. So they started without me because I was really young, obviously. Like,
Yeah.
who's going to put a fucking 7-year-old in their band? So they did their thing and they got really popular just from posting a cappella covers. So they posted like Party in the USA was their first cover they posted in 2009.
Hey, we're Cimorelli. We're 5 sisters, and we're gonna sing "Party in the USA." Oh, put my hands up, play my song, and the butterflies fly away.
It was actually a really genius marketing move. They were like, oh, her performance of her dancing on a pole is going to get leaked it got leaked or whatever on YouTube somehow right before it came out. So my sisters were like, oh my God, that's going to be so controversial. Like we should make a cover of Party in the USA because everybody's going to be searching Party in the USA. So what they did, they put the title of the video, Party in the USA live at the Teen Choice Awards, covered by Cimorelli.
Oh my God.
So your sisters were like clickbait prodigies.
Literally, like before clickbait was even a thing, they were like, oh, let's name it this. It was like a genius idea. Genius. So then they sent it to this blog called Ocean Up. And it was like a gossip blog, kind of like Perez Hilton.
Yeah.
And they sent it to them and were like, hey, we did this cover. Like, no, literally no reason for them
They're
to
like,
care.
hey, babes.
Literally like, hey. But they posted it and they got like a bunch of viewers. And keep in mind, YouTube was so small at the time.
Yes.
So like, if Ocean Up posted this with their 100,000 readers, it was like a big deal. I wasn't in the band, but I was a kid and I heard my sisters like screaming because they woke up and it had like 100,000 views, the YouTube video. And they literally didn't have any views at all.
Yeah.
It went from 0 to 100,000 like overnight. And then from there, it just like catapulted and like didn't
Wow.
stop for like years.
So did they set out to become like a YouTube famous band?
No, I mean, my sister Christina, who started it, she was very driven and like really wanted to like be successful, like really bad. And so I think she definitely had like goals in mind, but I don't think they thought it would happen, at least not that quickly. And definitely not like an a cappella group either. Like they just started doing a cappella because they didn't really play instruments and
That's so funny.
and
It's
like
amazing.
yeah, like high tech stuff. Like what are you gonna do? I mean, they played piano, but like it's hard to film like a piano cover.
Yeah.
And it's loud and like what are you gonna do like in 2009? Like
Yeah.
just record like nobody knew how to do
What are you
that.
going to do?
Yeah.
Like do covers of Lil Wayne?
Exactly.
Me?
Like with a karaoke. No, but seriously, like you're gonna put a karaoke track. Like
Yeah.
that was the only option. But harmonies were like a really big thing too because there were 5 of them.
Yeah.
And so they did all these harmonies in the back and they did the bums, bums and all that
Yeah.
stuff. But it definitely evolved. Like at first it was very minimal harmonies and they were kind of just singing like snapping. But
Yeah.
then later we did a lot more like complicated arrangements and it became
Yeah.
more like people labeled us like an a cappella group a lot of times, even though we definitely weren't. But like
Oh, that's funny. That's how I think
Yeah.
of you, though.
yeah, a lot of people do.
Oh, that's funny. I think it also makes sense because there are so many of you. It's kind of like when dads have their kids like join sports and then they put them all on the same team and they're like, oh, we can be a team.
You have a lot of kids to start a team.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, my mom was the one who suggested it because my sister really wanted to be a singer. And she was like, well, you have all these siblings. Like, why don't you just start a band? And then she was like, okay.
Was she the oldest one?
Yeah.
Okay.
She was like 17 at the time or 18.
That's so funny
and she's a
amazing.
girl boss.
She is literally.
That's such older sister vibes too.
It
Like,
is.
ladies, let's go.
Yeah, exactly.
Shania Twain's Let's Go Girls
Yeah.
is about your family.
Exactly.
Let's go, girls.
So you mentioned that when you were 7, you didn't immediately join
Mhm.
the group, but was there like a choice once you ultimately did join the group, or like was it like, you know, when you're like in a family business, you kind of like have to join the family business, or did you want to?
Oh, I really wanted to, really bad, because I like wanted attention really bad. And, like, relatable. I mean, as a family of 10 kids, like you can understand, like I want attention.
Yeah.
So, and I loved Britney Spears. I loved performers. I loved like being in the spotlight and the center of attention. So like when I saw my sisters performing on the stage, I was like, I want to do it really bad.
Aww.
Oh my God, cult of attention. Literally, in the age of the internet, when celebrities are gods on earth, nothing is more transcendent than attention. So I feel like, and maybe I'm reading into this a little bit too deeply.
You probably are.
Always.
Based on me reading your book, you probably are.
Dead. Attacked. But it seems to me like a cappella singing would make the members even more tightly bonded than other types of bands, because it's like literally just your voices working together in like these tight harmonies, and it has to be so coordinated, and if one little note is off, it ruins everything. So it really requires this sort of like precise communal effort. I'm wondering what you think makes a cappella cultier than other types of musical groups, if anything.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like when my sisters and I would sing in harmony all together, you literally have to like stare at each other. My sister would be like the leader and she would like be moving her hands and shit. You need to like really hone in. And there's these really magical moments where I don't know if it happens with everybody who sings a cappella or sings in harmony, but like my sisters and I, sometimes we would harmonize and our voices would harmonize so perfectly, it would start buzzing. So we would all be singing and there would be this underlying buzz. And it would only happen sometimes, but like when it did happen, it was like we were perfectly like together, and like I guess I don't know how the hell
I
that
just
The
got
world
chills.
It's
just
really
like
cool.
an alternate universe loophole
Yeah,
opens and you're like
literally.
Like open a wormhole and travel to
Yeah.
another
Yeah.
dimension.
Literally.
that's the next Marvel movie. Acapella Marvel.
Oh my God, that would be so cheesy.
Finally, I could watch a Marvel movie and feel invested.
Yeah.
Yeah. That definitely makes sense. And then also, I think maybe it's like the people who are drawn to it. You know, like theater kids and like kind of nerdy people. I feel like a cappella more.
Yeah.
It's not exactly like Justin Bieber isn't an
No.
a cappella group.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's
like
not
you watch,
giving Pharrell.
yeah, like you watch Pitch Perfect and stuff like that. Like that's like some people are cool in that, I guess. But
No, but it's the misfits. But you're right. These, people who are not otherwise feeling accepted will maybe seek out a cappella,
Yeah.
and that makes it culty.
and then they get really close because
Yeah.
they're all together all the time, whether it's a band or an a cappella group or a girl band, a girl group. Like there's a lot of little things in just being a musical group together, especially if you become successful,
Mhm.
because then you start to rely on each other even more.
Yeah. And it's such an emotional practice. Like singing is so emotional. I always joke as a stand-up comedian whenever I like see a musician at an open mic, because sometimes there's like stand-up open mics and then there's musical open mics.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes they're mixed. And whenever I see a musician, I'm like, oh, how are they on stage being like so vulnerable? And then I get up there and I'm like, so I had sex last night.
I think music allows you to sort of camouflage yourself, and
Yeah.
like, the music is almost a safety net, whereas like stand up, you're so exposed.
It's so blunt, but I feel like we're not expressing ourselves with our like body and sound. With music, you guys were literally like vibing,
Oh, yeah.
literally open to
Literally.
on a wavelength of sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But there is something about participating in like a group music practice
Yes.
that feels almost spiritual.
well, I mean, you think about churches, like when they lead worship. You want to talk about culty religions. One time I went to Hillsong in New York, and I wanted to go for the music because I didn't know anything about the church, and coincidentally, that whole thing just came out with them. And so I wanted to go to a non-denominational church, and I was like, oh shit, Hillsong is right around the corner. Like I've always wanted to go. And I went, and I don't think you guys understand. When I went in, I was like weeping.
Yeah.
Because the music was so good.
Yeah, well, it's designed to make
Yes.
the audience
to
feel like they're
emotionally-
having
yes.
a cathartic spiritual experience.
Yes.
But really just what they're experiencing are really good harmonies.
No,
Yeah.
harmonies and the chords, and when they hold out the synths and everything, and then everybody starts singing, and it's in this massive like old building.
Yeah,
like a
that's what I was
theater.
gonna say. Isn't it like performed like a concert?
Yes,
like the
it's like a ton of
quality of the
people.
speakers are also like
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah, and then you're singing about God and you're singing about spirituality, so it's like really deep and intense. So I've never ever had an experience like that
Wow.
until I went to that church, and I was like, oh my God, I never went back in because I don't live in New York. But
It's fascinating because the connection between like transcendence and religion in music is pretty tight. Like you were at a church that felt like a concert, But when I'm at a concert,
It feels like a church.
it feels like church.
Yes.
I was at a Robin concert before the pandemic. Robin. Fucking love Robin.
Amanda's like, yes. I can't even like think of.
I can't think of a single Robin song.
Dancing on my own.
Yeah, dancing on my own.
I remember being there with my friends and like one of my friends was like weeping as we were like scream singing one of these songs and she said, "This is church."
Yeah.
It's secular church, but it's music and
Yeah.
those are all connected.
Exactly.
You hinted at this a little bit because you talked about your sister and your family, but do you think you guys had like a cult leader in the group of sorts? And what would happen if like you wanted to question her, or did anyone ever like disagree with the leader? What was the vibe?
Yeah, I would say like the leader was my sister Christina. She was the oldest and she led the band and she kind of influenced like the culture of the group. But we had a very, I'd say, open communication. It was very group like oriented and like
She
we
wasn't
all
too
kind of had to
controlling.
agree. Yeah, we all kind of had to
Yeah.
agree on stuff to do it.
Can you talk about like what YouTube acapella culture is like specifically? Like, is it competitive? Is there drama?
There was definitely competition in the fans.
Mm.
Like in the comments, like the Gardner sisters, people would comment on them and be like, "Oh my God, you're copying Cimorelli," because they were all sisters and they would sing covers and
Yeah.
whatever. So they would say they were copying us, or like Pentatonics versus Cimorelli. People would like comment like, "Oh my God, Pentatonics is way better. Oh my God, Cimorelli is way better." So there was definitely people in the comments,
Mm.
but we never, honestly, maybe because we were just removed from like YouTube culture, we never spoke to anybody. Like we didn't really meet Pentatonics or hang out with them, and like the Gardner sisters, we were friends with them. So like there wasn't ever like we were so involved in the culture that we had like beef with anybody.
the
but-
standum made it
But
culty, if
the
anything.
fans definitely did, and that makes sense.
But it also seems like it was like pre-Instagram times, so it probably
It wasn't as
like-
heavy. Like TikTok
Yeah.
wasn't a thing, and Instagram wasn't as popular. Like there weren't stories or anything. So it was at our peak. It was mainly just YouTube comments.
So you mentioned you left the group to pursue another career.
Yeah,
What was that experience like leaving the group?
it was hard because we were sisters, and we are sisters. Again, I keep saying but we're sisters, you know.
Yeah.
And so doing it for 10 years and then leaving it, like I thought about it for many, many, many years because music just wasn't always my like number one passion. Even YouTube wasn't my number one passion. So like nowadays I'm doing YouTube, but I'm considering like heavily stepping back on YouTube and like getting a regular full-time job because I don't really want to do it like full-time anymore. When you start doing something when you're that young, you're not really going to be passionate about it unless it's like your thing, you know. Like some people I guess are lucky and they like want to be a singer since they're a kid or an actor or whatever, and then they jump right into it when they're a kid. But like for me, like my sisters were doing it and I just wanted to have fun. And
Yeah.
so I liked it, obviously, you know. I had a lot of fun for a lot of years. But towards the end of it, I was kind of just like, this isn't really my thing. So it was really hard because it wasn't an easy leaving, like, there's beef, or like, oh, I hate this or whatever. It was kind of just like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I haven't want to do this for years. So it's kind of like that bittersweet thing.
Yeah.
So my sisters were all pretty supportive of it. And like, I remember the day before I left, like officially, they like, I don't remember what they did, but they like gave me a gift or something. It was really nice.
Aw.
It was a good, like cathartic
Yeah.
leaving experience.
It sounds like internally you guys were obviously family and like they're going to be supportive of you.
Yeah.
What was the fandom? How did the fandom
Oh,
react?
I remember they freaked the fuck out. Like
Oh,
they
yeah.
made it a whole thing. They thought surely there must be beef.
Yes.
Surely you must be like under someone's
Yeah.
pernicious
Yeah.
influence,
Yeah.
or else why would you ever leave? Like I remember it was this very dramatic thing.
Yeah, because I was getting married at the time and I was
Oh.
19.
To your current husband?
Yeah. No, my new husband.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know why I asked that.
That's okay. No, that makes sense. I've been married for like 3 years.
Okay.
I also left the Catholic Church at the same time. Everybody thought that since I was making so many changes all at once, it must have been because my husband was influencing me and he was like controlling me, which first of all is so fucking annoying as like a woman.
Totally.
Yes.
Because it's like, okay, so I can't like make a life decision or else a man must be influencing me.
Yeah.
that
Like,
was the
bro,
patriarchy talking.
Literally,
fucked.
like so many people in my life, they're like, "Are you sure you want to do this, or is he's making you?" Right? It's like, do you think that I'm like easily manipulated like that?
And it's like, am I not allowed to want to do something other than this a cappella group I've been doing since I
Exactly.
was 13?
Exactly. Like, am I not allowed to want to change my life? Like, a lot of people on the outside just didn't understand that.
Mhm.
My sisters, I think, understood more than anything.
We talk about exit costs a lot on this show, like how that's like a cult red flag, but it sounds like the people who are actually in Cimorelli, your sisters, your family, they weren't making leaving hard. The fans were making leaving
They
hard.
were making it really hard. Yeah.
Which, like, I mean, you can partially understand because you all meant a lot to them,
Yeah.
but it's just the internet, I think,
Yeah.
brought out the cultishness of
It made it a lot
the
worse.
community.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
What do you think was the cultiest thing about being like a YouTube famous a cappella girl? Was it kind of the necessity to seem happy and wholesome all the time? Was it the subscribers? Like, what was the cultiest thing about it?
I would probably say the inside like image that we all had to have because it was a family-friendly group. And so as I became a teenager growing up in this group, like my sisters have very strong morals in a very certain direction. They started the group when they were late teenagers. Like they were like 15, 16, 17. And so they were kind of formed in like their ideals and their beliefs and everything. And so they dress really modestly. They don't curse. They don't like, they change the words in every cover they do. They're super Catholic. Like that's their thing. And that was my thing for a while. But I was literally 13 years old. And so I didn't really know what I wanted or what I believed. I just believed whatever they believed because, you know, they're my siblings. And so growing up and like wanting to wear crop tops and like wanting to like curse or whatever, like normal kid stuff or teenage things or whatever.
Get tattoos.
Yeah. It's like starting to do those things. I had to like do it secretly. And so I would say the cultiest thing was definitely like having to pretend like I was something that I wasn't in order to like fit the image and to like look a certain way to the outside.
Kind of reminds me of like child stars, like when they are like coming to terms with like who they are, but in the public light, it's like so hard.
Like Disney Channel stars, Miley.
Yeah.
Yes.
It makes me think of a couple things. First of all, the cult of families.
Yeah.
Like, but it also makes me think like just the general vibe of a cappella, whether you're in like a religious family or not, is pretty wholesome. You don't tend to see pretty edgy a cappella
It
groups.
is, for sure.
So now we're going to play a game. It's a classic game of Would You Rather. Sounds like a cult staple.
Love it.
Would you rather Cult of Acapella edition?
Would you rather only be able to listen to acapella music for the rest of your life or only be able to listen to Christian rock music for the rest of your life?
Oh, God.
That's a hard one.
That's hard.
Call back to what we were talking about
Christian
earlier.
rock, I hate. I hate it. I like worship music. I cannot with Christian rock. Like, yeah, Jesus.
Yeah. Okay, but what about like Christian, almost like indie alt rock?
That's even worse.
Yeah.
I think I'd rather listen to acapella because like there's some fire acapella covers of like popular songs. Like the drums basically sound real.
Yeah.
Totally.
And
I'm
you
down
can
with
listen to any style of music
Exactly.
in the
Yeah.
style of acapella.
Yeah, agree.
Okay, question number 2. Would you rather have to get a chest piece tattoo featuring the words "I'm aca-mazing" or get a big upper back tattoo of a pentagram?
Only because my family would disown me if I got a pentagram. I'd probably have to get the other one because since it just has to have the words, I could make it work. You know, I could put on like a little traditional banner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can
And it
hide
says chest piece. It doesn't say how big.
It doesn't say specific, so it could be
Yeah.
anything.
That's
Yeah.
right.
I love it.
You get it in like another language too, so it like looks cool.
Exactly.
How do
Same
you
thing.
translate aca-mazing?
I don't know, but you can. You can do anything in this world. Okay, would you rather have to spend every Sunday morning for the rest of your life attending a fundamentalist church service where you speak in tongues, or have to spend every Sunday morning for the rest of your life singing a 2-hour Taylor Swift a cappella medley?
I grew up Catholic and I went to church every Sunday, so it's kind of the same thing. Like, sure, the speaking in tongues is weird, but like, it's not
But
that.
sometimes they
it's
speak
not
in
that
Latin.
different.
I grew up Catholic too.
Yeah, that's fine. Same
that's a
deal.
tongue.
Yeah.
I didn't understand half what they were talking about Catholic church anyway,
I
so
know.
I'd rather do that because I don't want to sing for
Yeah.
2 hours.
And
That
the
is
thing
a
about
marathon.
Catholic church is that it's so boring. So when you're not like invested in it, you really can zone out and
just-
take a nap with your eyes open.
It's great. Or with your eyes closed.
with your
I
eyes
would lay
closed.
down in the pews.
Me
Just
too.
like go to bed.
Me too. And my mom would let us lay down. Like we were like,
Oh, my mom would
napping all
kill
over the
me.
place.
My mom would kill
Really.
me.
My dad would get mad at my mom for letting us lay down.
Oh, that's like
We're
what-
all adults
reverse.
now. We can all sleep sitting up.
Well, that's when my husband told me I should probably leave the Catholic Church because I was an adult going to sleep in Catholic service.
Yeah.
And he was
Thinking
like,
I was
hey,
like-
maybe you shouldn't be Catholic anymore.
Yeah, no, when I was lying down, I was like 10.
Yeah, my parents wouldn't let me.
I love how we're a cult podcast that like could be critiquing the cult of Catholicism, but instead we're choosing to brush right past that and talk about the cult of acapella. That is just so on brand for this podcast.
Yeah.
Would you rather have to be only friends / hang out with college acapella singers or only be friends / hang out with YouTube acapella singers?
Probably college acapella singers because like I feel like YouTube, no offense, YouTube acapella singers, like I feel like they don't have, this is the biggest generalization I've ever made in my life, but like I feel like they're YouTube and like
They're not
everything's
pretty.
kind of
No,
their
I'm
life.
just
They're kind of ugly.
Yeah.
No, I just mean like I feel like YouTube would be like their life.
Yeah.
And it'd be kind of annoying. Like, I don't want to talk about that shit. Like, I feel like college students would have like different things they're doing, and acapella would be like, oh, this is what I do for fun.
They are very insular in college too, but at least you're on a campus, so you're also in like the cult of like your college campus.
You're taking
so, like,
classes, you're
yeah.
partying.
Exactly. So I'm not just like stuck with all these YouTubers all the time.
Yeah.
And YouTubers can be really annoying sometimes.
Yeah.
So I don't want
Yeah.
to deal with that.
Isn't it funny other cults always look more fun than the one you're in because you can't see the underbelly from afar?
So true. Thank you so much for coming here and talking about the quote unquote cult of acapella. If people want to keep up with you and your work and your new life, where can they do that?
Anywhere that has the name Dani Calleiro, so it's spelled Calleiro. I'm on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, etc.
So Isa, out of the 3 cult categories, live your life, watch your back, and get the fuck out. What do you think about the cult of acapella?
I think the cult of acapella is a live your life.
You do.
I do. I'm going light these days because we only found one red flag hazing situation. And recently there haven't really been many. And I think just because there are people like Keith Raniere who use acapella to like lure people in,
Yeah.
I don't think that necessarily is associated with like acapella itself.
Right. It's associated more with youth
Yeah.
and
it's-
optimism.
And Keith Raniere making anything he can culty.
it's true.
You know,
You know, I'm going to call to watch your back
of course you are.
because I just think point blank, whenever a group that has such deep roots in tradition and involves young people and is so active on college campuses, notoriously culty, also YouTube, notoriously culty, it's got to be a default watch your back. I think it's less extreme a watch your back than fraternities and sororities. I think it's less extreme a watch your back than another YouTube cult that we'll talk about in a later episode on this show.
Yeah.
Yeah, whenever you have a group that has such a strong hold on young people, it can quickly dive into more dangerous territory.
Oh my gosh, what happens when we disagree? I'm
Should-
like, live your life. You're like, watch your back. And I'm like, but live your life.
Should we wrestle? Well, that's our show.
Thanks so much for listening.
We'll be back with a new cult next week.
But in the meantime,
Stay culty, but not too culty. Sounds Like a Cult is created, hosted, and produced by Amanda Montel and Isa Medina. Kate Elizabeth is our editor.
our podcast studio is All Things Comedy, and our theme music is by Casey Kolb. Thank you to our intern/production assistant, Noemi Griffin. Subscribe to Sounds Like a Cult wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode.
And if you like our show, feel free to give us a rating and review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and check us out on Patreon at patreon.com/soundslikeacult.